Thank you, Premier. This is all about turbocharging our visitor economy. There's probably no sector across New South Wales that's been more damaged by the sustained impacts of the coronavirus pandemic than our tourism industry. Whether it's hotels, tour operators, travel agents, people have just simply seen their businesses evaporate, lost jobs, and it's been an incredibly distressing period of time. But as our vaccination rates have got higher, they're now leading the nation, one of the fastest vaccination rates anywhere in the world. It's time to inject confidence into the tourism sector and say to all of those businesses around New South Wales, the New South Wales government is here to support you through this absolutely critical recovery phase. Today we're announcing over $500 million worth of support across the tourism sector. The Premier's just announced those $50 accommodation vouchers to make sure that we really stretch out the summer period and drive demand into our accommodation providers right across the state. We're also making a really strong statement to global airlines that we want you back in Sydney. We're going to be aggressively in the market, making sure we get those airlines that have been sending routes to other cities to come back to Sydney as we reopen as a nation. We've announced that we're already removing quarantine for people who are fully vaccinated coming into New South Wales from the 1st of November, but we also want those airlines starting to back that up by putting flights on the market, and so people can book those flights and start coming back into Australia when the Australian government starts reissuing visas. There'll be $60 million allocated to that aviation attraction fund. We want Sydney to be the first international city to reopen in Australia. We want to say to the world, we're open for business and you're welcome to come to our great state. We also want to support our events sector right across the state, both here in Sydney and across regional New South Wales, and that's why we'll be allocating $150 million for small, medium and large events in the city, in the bush. This is about making sure those events that might have fallen over the last 2 years can get back on their feet, and for people who have got new, innovative ideas, we want to hear those ideas and we want to back you up over the next 18 months. We know our CBDs have been absolutely smashed by coronavirus over the last 20 odd months, so that's why there's a $50 million expansion of our CBD revitalisation fund, and this time round we're going to expand it beyond Sydney CBD to support those other key centres across the metropolitan region, places like Parramatta, Liverpool, Penrith, Hurstville, those types of locations that have really seen a reduction in trade. We want to create activations that bring people back into those locations. Business events have also suffered a lot over the last 20 months. There's $6 million to support those business events to be able to get back on their feet and start booking out our conferences, our convention centres, our exhibition halls. We want those events back up and moving again. We ran last year a very successful support program for live music venues to keep a lot of our live music venues alive during a period of time when they couldn't host live music. That allowed us to keep a lot of the infrastructure in our city, which will be absolutely critical for the cultural recovery as we come out of the coronavirus pandemic. We're going to do something very similar with a $25 million festival support fund. This will allow a lot of festivals who are starting to miss the spring and summer cycle, they've not been able to get their events away, to keep those businesses alive, allow them to re-profile the timing of some of their events, but once again keeping that corporate knowledge in our tourism sector. This is a huge shot in the arm for the tourism sector. It really turbocharges the recovery, and there's no doubt here in New South Wales it's lift-off time when it comes to the visitor economy.